A few days ago I posted a very quick video about a homemade shotgun shell trimmer, and this is it right here, and people wanted to see how it works, so I just did a quick video on it. Basically it's pretty simple. It's an X-Acto blade held in with a little aluminum clip and a little retainer that I drilled and tapped to hold it. A couple of pieces of oak with a hole drilled that's the right size. In this case, this one does 12 gauge and 10 gauge. 12 gauge, it just basically tears apart the shell if I had a bad reload or whatever. But for 10 gauge, it actually takes the crimp off so that I can roll crimp black powder shotgun loads. And then a simple hinge just holds it all together, and I'll post a link below to that video so you can see how that works. It's actually pretty good. But it's slow, and if you're doing production, you know, a couple hundred shells, it might take a little bit of time. So, a little while back, I found this company called Creative Reloading, and they're based out of Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. They make all kinds of shotgun shell stuff. And one of the things they make is a shotgun shell trimmer. And this is it right here. Now normally this device would have this ball mounted on the back of it so that you can do it by hand. You basically take a shotgun shell that you want to trim the crimp off of, or just straighten out the end, and you just stick it on here and you would turn this ball on the other end and it would trim the shell. Well, this is going to get a little long-winded, but what the heck. A number of years ago I used to shoot bench rest. Very, very involved in shooting bench rest. And if you've ever shot bench rest rifle, there's an awful lot of trimming going on. Your neck trimming, your case size trimming, you're doing all kinds of stuff. And I needed to find a way to do it quickly and easily. Well, there's a company called Surplus City. It used to be called Surplus Center. Or maybe it's Surplus Center now. It used to be Surplus City. I don't remember. And I was cruising through their catalog one day and I saw that they had these General Electric gear motors. Now these gear motors are amazing because they turn incredibly slow, only a few hundred RPM, and they have power like you can't believe because they're all geared down. Well, they had 40 of them for sale, and I believe I paid $20 a piece. If you were to buy one of these today, it'd be over $300. So I bought all 40 of them, and then I pulled all the shafts out of them and I put it in my lathe, and I threaded the shaft so that we could put a regular drill chuck on it. So now we can chuck up all different types of things. Well, it turns out that this Creative Reloading Solutions shotgun shell trimmer fits perfectly. Now, I'm going to remove the safety guard so we can see what this thing looks like. This thing is really well made, by the way. It's all nice brass and whatnot. So what it has is it has this device that you stick the shotgun shell on. The little pin down at the bottom here will go into the primer pocket hole, or even if the primer's, it actually works better if the primer is still in place, by the way. It has spacers that go in between the two halves here. I'm sorry. The two halves, and you simply unscrew this and screw on a spacer depending on how long you want your shells to be. Now these Delrin spacers, I actually made them myself, but you could just stack up washers. I found a number of washers that happen to be the right size. It actually comes with a whole bunch of washers, but for 10 gauge, trying to get them down to 2 7/8, I had to kind of make my own. It's really pretty fast, and that's the whole point here. So I'm going to show you how fast this thing is to trim a shell. First of all, we turn it on. As you can see, it spins pretty darn slow. And we simply take a shell, and we just push it against it, and boom. Perfecto. Now my tool leaves a little bit of a burr from one end of the cut to the other. You really got to kind of finesse it to get it to cut perfectly straight. And you only get it perfectly straight maybe 50% of the time. Obviously, the way this thing works, because it indicates off the primer pocket, and everything's held in good tolerance, it makes a perfect 90-degree cut. Absolutely perfect. I'll show you one more. Again, just the shell. And that is it. Talk about fast. Now the real nice thing about this is today was the first time I actually shot 10 gauge black powder shotgun shells. And as you know, if you shoot black powder plastic shells, the edge gets all messed up. And I'm not sure it would ever roll crimp properly the next time. So taking out this Delrin spacer and putting in a much smaller one, a much thinner one, I guess I should say, I can resize these 10 gauge shells down a little bit and get rid of that melted kind of edge that ends up after shooting black powder with these shotgun shells. So that's the story. I sure wish I could find more of these gear motors for a reasonable price. This was at least 10 or 15 years ago that I did these gear motors, and it must be up on the internet somewhere, because every once in a while I still get people calling me saying, hey, I want to buy one of them gear motors. Unfortunately, they ain't available, not from me anyways. So anyways, as I continue my quest for shooting black powder 10 gauge shotgun shells, thanks for watching.